Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the course of Mobile Application and Development CS417. It's lecture number 15, and today we will discuss about buttons and clickable images. How we use buttons and clickable images in Android application development. So this is today's agenda. Today we'll discuss about user interaction, how user interact with uh, activities and different UI components, buttons, and then clickable images, and then floating action buttons. What are these? This is a new concept, a floating action button, and we will also see the common gestures. So these PowerPoint slides has been taken for teaching and learning purposes under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License, and this is the link of the slides and other tutorials. You can go to this link and see what other tutorials are available to enhance your programming skills in Android. So let's talk about user interactions, how user interact with with a mobile application. So user expect to interact with apps by tapping or clicking, typing, using gestures, and talking. So these are the ways with the help of which user interact with any app, uh, and in this scenario buttons perform the main actions. Buttons are the main entity in Android application that performs different actions. Other UI elements enable data input and navigation, etc. User interaction design. First we should know what is a user intersection and interaction design, and what are those design principles that needs to be followed when designing any Android app. So think about how users will use your app. The first point is, first we should think how users will use my app or your app, and then the second step is minimize steps. The purpose of this step is to minimize memory overload. If you design your app having multiple stages or having multiple steps, then it is very difficult for the user to engage with your app and input data in a timely manner. So this second principle is very important. You always design your app with minimal steps. And after that, UIs use UI elements, user interface elements that are easy to access, understand, and use. The third point is that we should use those user interface elements that are not too much difficult. There are some UI elements that needs deeper understanding for the user, so we should avoid those UI elements and use simple UI elements like text boxes and buttons instead of long lengthy widgets. For these things we should follow Android best practices. We have a separate lecture on Android best practices, so we will see what are those best practices. And the final point, at last but not the least, we should meet user expectations. This is the main point. If the user expectations were not met, then your app is not acceptable to the user. The first UI component that we discuss is button. You have seen buttons in your web application programming, in your desktop application programming environments, and button is a major or a very common UI element that is present in almost every environment IDE. So view that responds to tapping, clicking, or pressing. Usually text or visuals indicate that what will happen when tapped, and the state of the button, its state is normal and focused, disabled, pressed, and on off. So button is an object, and when we call this is an object, this means that it has different states, and it has different behaviors. It has different properties and different member functions. So these are the states. Because this is an object, button is an object, so that's why it has states. Anything which has states and behaviors, we call that an object. So button is an object and it has different states. The first one is normal state. Like you can see here, the button is in normal state. This button is also normal state. These are the examples of the buttons. You have already seen buttons while you are programming in Android. The second state is focus, and disable state. It has also disabled state. Sometimes we need to disable a button so that the user cannot interact with the application. And the fourth one is the press state, and the fifth one is on and off. Okay, on and off is relevant to radio buttons, and pressed, disabled, focused, and normal. These states are related to these normal buttons. So how can we use an image on a button? We will see this in a small program later on. There is a directory in an Android application which is called drawable directory, and this directory or folder is present in resources folder, and then this is an app folder, and this whole path is visible under project tab. You can go to the project tab, and then you can see this directory is visible over here. You can follow these small steps by choosing new image asset. Right click on this folder and then choose new image asset, and then choose action bar and tab items from drop down menu. You will see this image over here, and you can use these button images so that you can use them on your button faces to look your buttons more having a great look. And after that, click the clip part image, Android logo. So in this way you can place an image on your button. So how buttons responds when some user interaction taking place? There is an event listener which is called on click listener. Event listeners, you have a knowledge of event listeners. The event listeners are those entities in Android which the responsibility of these listeners is to listen some events. And in XML you can do Android on click attribute in the XML layout. This is the XML layout of your Android application. This is the ID of the button, and this is the layout width and layout height. This is the height and this is the width, and this is the button text, and the text of the button is button underscore send, and the event which takes place is the send message, because the button is taking some text from some text input field like view text or edit text, and send those message to another activity. So here we can include this key value pair like in our XML document, Android manifest file. And this is the code in Java, setting listener with on click callback. The previous code is in XML file and this code is in Java file. So first of all, we will create a button class, and this is a button object, and later on we are finding some button. Find view by ID, resource.id.button. This will assign this button object to this button, and after that here we are using event listener. The responsibility of this event listener is to listen some events, and we are registering that event listener with the button, with the dot operator. You can see we are registering this button with a event listener. This is an object, same object, and here you can see that we are registering an event listener with the button, and in that event listener we are creating a view object, new view dot on click listener, and after that we are registering an event handler or a callback. This is called a callback. Okay, this is called a callback. We always use callbacks in listeners. This is a callback on click, and here we are mentioning a view object as an argument. Do something in response to button click, like sending text, taking text from some input field, and then send those text elements to another activity. So you can do whatever you like to do in this part of the code. So let's move on. Clickable images. Image view with an Android on click attribute. We can use clickable images with the help of this image view object. And image for image view is in this path. You can go to the project tab and then open app, sources directory, main directory, resources directory, and then drivable folder in the project. So how to respond to image views tabs in your code? We will use this on click listener, event listener. You have already seen that. And in XML we can use Android click key value pair. So this is the XML view of the code. Image view, these are the by default properties, layout width, and then layout height, and then the image source which is visible on the image, and then this is the event which is called on click event. Here we are using XML file for encoding different properties and different event handlers. The next topic is floating action buttons. These are the special type of buttons in Android. This is the shortcut fab. These buttons are raised or circular floats above the layout. You have seen these buttons before, and they are the primary or promoted action for a screen. And these buttons, the limitation is one button per screen. So the floating action buttons are one per screen. For example, the add contact button in the contacts app. You have seen this button multiple times when you are interacting with your mobile applications. These buttons are either raised or circular and floats above the layout. So there is no such problem. These buttons are not fixed, but these buttons are in always floating position. So how can we include floating action buttons? First of all, we will add this uh, property in our XML file, android.support.design.widget.floating action button, and these are the same properties you have seen before. This is the ID, then layout gravity is bottom, the end, this is the position of the button. It is on the bottom and on the end, and its layout margin is floating action buttons underscore margin. This is the property, and then this is the image source. uh, this is the image source white button. So this is the way with the help of which we can add the floating action buttons in our code in XML file. And floating action buttons, the size is by default 56 by 56 dp by default, and set mini size. We can also set mini size in such a way like 30 by 40 dp with app is equal to colon fab size attribute. In this fashion, app colon fab size is equal to mini, and we can also use the by default size 56 by 56 dp by setting this attribute normal. So when we use normal, this means that it will take the by default size of 56 by 56 dp. Now see what are the common gestures in a mobile application. The common gestures are the long touch when we touch the screen of mobile in a timely fashion, and a long touch, this is called long touch. And double tap, flying action, dragging, scrolling, and pinch action. So you have already seen these actions. Don't depend on touch gestures for app basics behavior. So these are the common gestures with the help of which user interact with your mobile application. There are some classes and methods available to help you handle different gestures. You can use this link gesture detector compact class for common gestures and motion event class for motion events. So go to the links available in the slide and see what other APIs are available to include gestures in your app, and how we control motion events. You can go to the link and see what other classes are available to do that task. How we detect all types of gestures, gather data about touch events, interpret the data to see if it meets the criteria for any of the gestures your app supports. So we can detect some types of gestures with the help of some APIs. You can go to the link below and see what those APIs are. You can go to the link and see what those APIs are. You can learn more. We will see this topic input control in our next lecture. Drivable resources, floating action buttons, radio buttons, these are different input controls. How we handle keyboard events, text fields and buttons, what are the spinners, what are dialog boxes, fragments, even inputs. So go to the links. There are a lot of information available on the site, and you can learn a lot of things. So we will see this input controls in this lecture as well. So let's move on the input controls. First of all, you will see the overview of input controls, and after that we will see how we set focus on the input controls. View focus is all about is that, and freeform text and numbers, and providing choices with the help of radio buttons and checkboxes. How we can accept user input with the help of freeform text and numbers, like edit text by using a keyboard. You have already used this control. This is a UI element which is called edit text control. We can provide choices with the help of these buttons, checkbox, the radio button, and the spinner. And we can provide the functionality of on and off with the help of toggle buttons, toggle and the switch buttons. And how can we choose a value in a range? The answer is seek bar. So the edit text is for entering text and numbers, and for providing choices we use checkboxes, radio buttons, and the spinner. And for providing users the functionality of switching functionality on and off, we can use the toggle button and the switch button. And how can we choose values in a particular range? So for that we can use the seek bar control. So edit text and checkboxes, toggle, switch, and seek bar, these are all user input elements. Examples of input controls, as you can see, this is the input text, edit text, and the second one is seek bar. This is also, you can select this dot small circle, and then you can move in the left direction or in the right direction. And by moving this control either in left direction or right direction, there are some particular values in the background that are selected by default. So this is the seek control, and you have seen this control when you are this type of control is usually appear in search in a search bar. When you want to suppose you want to specify some range values, let's say in an e-commerce website you want to select a particular range according to your budget. For in that sense you can use this control. This is called a C control, and this control is called the checkbox. You have already seen, and this is a very old way of selecting multiple choices together. So we can use this checkbox control to include multiple choice in our application. And this is another control which is called a radio button control. Radio button control is a control with the help of which we can select only one value. With the help of checkbox we can select multiple values, but with the help of radio button there are multiple choices, but the criteria is to select only one value. And this is called a switch button, and the purpose of the switch button is on and off, enable and disable, activate and deactivate. Suppose you want to use this control in your application in which you assign some rights to the user. So in that case you can use the switch control by activating or deactivating a specific user and activating some specific rules. And here you can see the control which is called the spinner control. Here you are mentioning the home number, the workflow number and the mobile number and other. So by selecting this drop down menu you can select multiple values, a single value at a time, not multiple values but a single value. And this is a number, either a telephone number or a house number. So by selecting this we are indicating that we are selecting the home number. Now the question is how input control works. We can use edit text for entering text using a keyboard, and we can use the seek bar for sliding left or right to a setting as I have told, and also give an example of an e-commerce website. We can use a seek bar for sliding left or right to a string, and we can use a checkbox elements for choosing more than one option. You can use, suppose you are designing a paper having multiple choice questions, multiple options are available for a particular question, and you can allow users for selecting more than one answers. So in that case you can use the checkbox control. And we can use radio button elements into a radio group, because the radio buttons are always tied together via the radio button group. We mention a group name and we bind every radio button to that group. So in this way we can select only one value or only one choice. So try to remember these choices, which input control is used for which purpose. And we can use the switch for tapping on and off. There are multiple scenarios where you can use the switch control, and we can use spinner for choosing a single item from a list. Spinner is a new name in an Android application. Otherwise we call this is a drop down menu. Spinner is a drop down menu. Let me write this so that you can remember it. This is a drop down menu. Okay, drop down menu. This is called spinner control, is also called a drop down menu. So don't be confused with the name of the spinner. What is a spinner control? It is a simple drop down menu from which we can select only a single element at a time. So what is the base class for input controls? The answer is the view is the base class for input controls. This means that this is the parent class for the input controls. The view class is the basic building block for all user interface components, including the input controls. And view is the base class for classes that provide interactive UI components. So by default, when we are creating different components, input controls like input controls, buttons, checkboxes, radio buttons, spinner control, and seek control, we are inheriting our views from the view base class. And the view provides basic interaction through Android on click. Every input control has an event. Remember this point, every input control has an event. Like edit text, when we are using edit text control has events like on focus, on leave. These are the events. Button on click is an event of the button, but the checkbox on checked, radio button on clicked, these are the events of the buttons. So every input control has an event. So what is a view focus? The view that receives user input has a focus. When we are interacting with input controls, the input control received focus. Only one view can have focus. It is not possible that on the same UI user interface screen, our focus is dispersed or scattered to multiple input elements. This is the main point. Only one view here. The view, what is the view? View is the your input control. Only one view can have the focus, and focus makes it unambiguous which view gets the input. Focus is assigned by a user tapping a view. When the user tap or click on a view, this is the in this way the input control get the focus. App guiding the user from one text input control to the next using the return or tab or arrow keys. While entering the text in the text box control, it's not necessary to always use your mouse for moving on the next input. We can do the same via the return tab or with the help of arrow keys. So the app will guide you to move on the next control. In this way, the control will get the necessary focus. And calling request focus on any view that is focusable. We can also use this function which is called request focus on any control that is focusable. What is clickable versus focusable? These two actions look the same, but they are actually different. One is the clickable and the other one is the focusable. So view can respond to being clicked or tapped. The view will respond you back when you click on that or tap on that. And the other one is the focusable. View can gain focus to accept input. So these two events looks very similar, but they are actually different. One is the clickable and the other one is the focusable. Input controls such as keyboards send input to the view that has a focus. So when we are interacting with the input controls, the keyboard send that input to the view that has a focus. Which view gets focus next? By default, the topmost view under the touch. When you open the activity and see the first screen, the first element on the screen will get the focus. After user submits input, focus moves to the nearest neighbor. Priority is left to right and top to the bottom. So the input controls or the views works under the principle of the nearest neighbor. What is the nearest neighbor who will get the next focus? And in that case, there is a priority to assign focus to certain elements, and that priority is always from left to right and then top to the bottom. So remember this point while designing your apps, that there is a priority involved in focus, and that priority is from left to right and top to the bottom. Focus can change when user interacts with the directional control. It can be changed when there are some directional controls. Focus can be changed. Guiding users usually you visually indicate which view has focus, so users knows where their input goes. this is by default the cursor is blinking on the input control like text box, edit text, and the button has a particular border that appears when the button gets a focus. So there are some visuals that indicate that which input control is under focus. Usually we see in text boxes the cursor is blinking, and when we press tab the focus will move on to the button, and when that focus is on the button you can see a small dotted border on the button. This shows that the input control is under focus. So we can check which input control is under focus by checking their default behaviors visually. So visual indicate which views can have focus, helps users navigate through flow. The result is they are predictable and logical, no surprise. So how we guide in focus? Arrange input controls in a layout from left to right and top to bottom in the order you want focus assigned. So if you're designing your app and you want that the focus will be in a sequential manner, then you always input your controls in a layout in a left to right direction and top to the bottom direction. So in this way you can control the focus technically. Place input controls inside a view group in your layout. Specified ordering in the XML. Let's say you are including some input control in your app. The ID is ID and this is the called top. Okay, and then it is focusable. This is true. This is a property focusable, and this is true. And Android next focus down. This is called the bottom. So with the help of these specific key value pairs, top and bottom, you can transfer your focus onto the next screen. So this is the end of the lecture. If you have any questions regarding today's lecture, you can get in touch with me and ask questions via my official email. So till your next lecture, Allah Hafiz, see you soon inshallah.